Hello and welcome back to another Space Club Career Chats. Once again, I'm Natasha Wilkerson. I am so excited to have all of the Space Club students watching. You guys did an amazing job submitting questions. I feel like we got the most questions this time. I don't know if you're just excited that we have somebody from NASA joining us today, but thank you for all the teams and the students who submitted questions and all the designs. We got some amazing designs from your Space Club Mission to Moon or Mission to Mars. So there will be a raffle, so stay tuned at the end. We are giving away some NASA swag in honor of our guest today, so stick around for that. Also, a side note, I am in a weird place. It kind of looks weird here because I'm in Dallas at CAST, which is a science teacher conference. And I say that because there might be a lot of Space Club educators who are also at this conference. I'm just saying a shout out to all the science teachers watching. Okay, so for today, let's jump right in. Our guest is Patrick Ream. He is a ground control trainee at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. He has a bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering from Texas A&M University. He was hired straight out of college to work at Mission Control. And I think this is important because one of the questions we got the most often is how old is Patrick? And I think y'all wanted to know because he does look younger and you're like, is he straight out of college? He is. He is young, and I'm going to ask him how old he is. But he did get this job right away, which is incredible. And we're going to ask him how he did it. And his life revolves all around space, especially space exploration and development. So let's bring him on. Patrick, how are you doing?
Howdy, I'm doing pretty good. Really excited to be here. Really excited to be able to talk about what I do and my journey to get here. And honestly, really excited to help inspire the next generation and maybe see a few of y'all in mission control one day alongside me.
Yeah, and I see you've got your official NASA, polo or shirt on right there.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I love it. Okay, so we're just going to get out of the way. Everybody wanted to know how old you are. Can you tell us how old you are?
So right now I'm 24, but when I was hired, I was 23, and I can kind of guess why we kept getting this question is because I do look very young, and I agree. Yeah, I do look very young. And I was hired straight out of college, and honestly, I still feel like like everyone around me is an adult and I'm just a kid. But you know, I don't know. I'm just excited for the opportunity, and I think at the end of the day, age doesn't really matter as long as you have enough confidence and you have enough ability to make a difference, especially in space.
Oh, I love that. And so how long have you officially been working at NASA?
It'll be a year in about 2 months. So
Okay.
yeah,
Nice.
it's things have flown by. Like
Very cool.
this has been some of the most rewarding experiences of my life, and I still frankly can't believe that I work at NASA. Like, are you kidding me?
I feel like so many students watching, that's like their dream job is to say, like, I want to work at NASA. And so I want to hear about it. But first, let's start a little bit before that. So, your pathway, your journey into this really cool job, what got you interested in space? Several teams wanted to know from North Carolina.
That is honestly a really good question and a really important question because I think everyone's pathways to passion are different, right? Everyone's origins are different. Maybe somebody stumbles upon a photograph somewhere and they're like, "Whoa, that looks really awesome," and then they do a little digging and find out, "Oh, that's the planet Saturn. What is a planet?" And then just from there, or maybe, for example, what happened with me was that my aunt, who used to take care of us when my mom and my parents were off working, um, she used to come back from community college like every other day and give us, little tidbits and factoids about space that she had learned about from her astronomy class. And so, I remember one night she had woken us up in the middle of the night to point out Saturn in the night sky one time, and I was just blown away, blown away. Like you just can't imagine the sort of wonder that instills in a 4-year-old. And as you can
Oh,
see
wow.
on the picture on the right there, that was when I was 7 years old because I begged and pleaded my parents to take us to Johnson Space Center when I was a kid. Um, because we weren't really we didn't come from a lot of means, not a lot of money, not a lot of opportunity, and so it took a lot. a lot of negotiating. Only way a 7-year-old knows how to negotiate, begging and crying to take us there. And honestly, that just cemented my passion for space. Because when you see the Saturn V for the first time, that is bigger than a football field, bigger than a football field, all to launch 3 astronauts to the moon and back safely,
Mhm.
and all built by hand by humans, by us, by you and me.
And so
And
going there, is that what you were like, "I wanna be in mission control?" Is that like,
oh,
did you know that?
oh, 100%. Like, because I'd say beforehand, all I'd seen were videos, all I'd seen were photos. So there wasn't anything really tangible to really sink my teeth into, because up until that point, it was all purely theoretical, right? Oh, this is what's been done. Oh, this is the thing over here. But it wasn't until I saw it for the first time where I was almost able to touch these vehicles, these things with my own hands, that really became a reality and something that could actually be done, and that maybe I could one day do it as well. And so that specifically, as a tie-in segue to the next question, was a huge catalyst to me wanting to be a part of mission control one day and wanted to be a ground controller, because those are the people that were a huge part of getting us to the moon and back, right? Like, without the people on the ground, the people in space don't reach their objective. And if I can't be the astronaut going there, I might as well be the next best thing. And so, now that I'm in NASA, and this might be an answer to another question further down the line, I might see what I can do to become an astronaut. We'll see.
Mhm. I love it. Um, okay, so you're interested in space. Was there a favorite subject in school? Like, what is it? Science was your favorite subject?
I would say yes. Science was my favorite subject in school, and I'd say my least favorite subjects were I don't know. It would be a surprise to a lot, considering that I got a bachelor's in aerospace engineering and work at NASA, but I just did not like math. But
Really?
turns out, oh my goodness gracious, math is one of the, if not the most important thing that I've done to get here. And so from there, just doing it kind of cultivated that passion for math, because you can't really have physics without math, and you can't
Right.
get to space without math or the physics. And so from there, I was like, I was able to develop a much deeper appreciation for it, and honestly learned to begin enjoying the subject a lot more.
Yeah, something that I noticed also when I studied engineering is it all kind of comes together. Middle
Hmm.
in high school, you have a math teacher and a science teacher, and
Hmm.
it's all separate tracks. And then in engineering,
Yep.
it's, oh, all of a sudden you've got to use that calculus to do the physics, and
Hmm.
math is the language of science.
Exactly. And then in some instances, you have to use the chemistry, you have to bring in the
Yep.
bio. It's just, it's incredible. A
Mhm.
space requires every subject to conquer. And honestly, being on the other side of it, working in the industry, it's really cemented in my mind that is the case, and that is reality.
So Mars Madness wants to know, did you take space-related classes in high school?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I did, and I honestly, because the high schools I went to didn't really offer them as an option. I wish they did, because if they did, I would have definitely taken them, but they didn't. And so, for the most part, anything space related, I either waited until we covered some space topics in physics or chemistry or whatever other classes we covered, or read about them myself, watched YouTube videos, whatever it was, just because. Um, uh, Space was just so fascinating to me. And honestly, it doesn't take much more than looking up at the night sky to remind you that space exists and that space is out there. And so part of that is part of that. Me wishing to have been able to have taken space classes is one of the reasons why I'm just so happy that programs like this exist, because it really allows for those students who love space like I did and I still do, to really um, take part in their passion and really develop in ways that I never had the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. School in Kansas asks, what kind of grades did you have in school?
Okay, so do as I say, not as I do.
Oh,
Okay.
uh-oh.
So in college, I put pedal to the metal. I got cum laude. I was just
And
okay.
that's you in
Like,
college, right? That picture?
yeah, that's me. That's me in college. Exactly. High school, middle school, elementary were very different because I just never did homework. Um, no matter, no matter what, I just would never do it because I got home and I was like, No, I don't want to do it. And
Didn't have the
so,
motivation.
yeah, exactly, which is especially difficult because uh, I have ADHD, born diagnosed with it as a young age and everything. So that was part of the thing that really made it a struggle to do that homework was the fact that I just really couldn't focus on it when I was at home. I could barely
Mhm.
even focus on it when I was at school either, because when I'm sitting there doing homework as a young kid, it's really hard to grasp the value of it, right? Is well,
Yeah.
I'm not really enjoying this. I'd rather go outside and hang out with friends. I'd rather go play video games. I'd rather do this. And it wasn't until I got older and really got into college that I realized, oh my gosh, like I've been missing out on a lot. Because homework serves to really cement the ideas that have been presented to you in class in ways that I really honestly never cared to even
Mhm.
consider. And
Right.
so it wasn't until I had to start paying a lot of money to realize, you know what, I better take full advantage of the resources given to me. So let's just say I didn't get great grades in high school. I got good grades in college, and now I'm at NASA, so grades don't matter anymore.
What advice do you have for the students who might have ADHD? Because I mean, that's something that students
Yeah,
might struggle with. Like, what advice would you have?
honestly, like I think first and foremost, it's having a good, solid foundation, and that being a support structure, right? Friends, family, teachers, and honestly, like say family's number one, teachers are number two, because you spend 8 to 9 hours out of your day in school, right? And so for the most part, outside of sleep, 50% of your time is spent with your teachers, um, which means that they are a huge component in terms of helping guide you towards the next step of your life, right? Um, and so seeking out that advice, seeking out help whenever you need it, because I promise you, it is not shameful in any way to acknowledge when you need help. I promise you, I would not have gotten to NASA without help at all. I would not have, honestly, I probably wouldn't have even gotten into Texas A&M without help. And so, really reaching out and really getting the guidance that I needed was pivotal. And moreover, what really helped was understanding the quirks of my ADHD and how it manifested, and learning how to combat that with better habits. For example, when I really wanted to focus on doing homework in college, I found out, hey, listening to music for some reason helps me focus. For people that don't have ADHD, it distracts them. But for me, for some reason, now that I have that external distractor, I no longer have anything to worry about besides getting my homework done. Right. And that really helped out a lot. And as well as, doing homework with friends, because having being in an environment that's tailored towards studying and towards getting homework done really helps.
Right.
Which I think third and lastly, try to make sure that whenever you're trying to focus on something, that you're in the environment that's right for the thing that you're trying to do. Because if you're in your game room trying to do homework, you're not going to do your homework. But if you're like in an office somewhere, um, it's completely devoid of distractions, more likely than not you're going to have a much easier time getting your work done. So it's three of those things, and the rest
Yeah.
is really really developing and learning more about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that can be really helpful, to
And thank you
students
for
and
asking.
so now you're at NASA, so let's get to that part of the story. What do ground controllers and specifically trainees, because that's what's in your title, what do they do and how
Yeah.
do they help NASA?
So ground controllers themselves. So there's a lot of different flight controller positions at NASA, depending on the vehicle. So for example, right now I'm being trained for the ISS, but eventually I'll be moved on to Artemis and then eventually the human landing system, which by the way is a vehicle that's getting us back onto the moon, as well as, Lunar Gateway and other things.
Right.
And so depending on the vehicle, you'll have different systems that you're going to have to be monitoring constantly. However, the one constant, regardless of the vehicle you're working, is that the ground is there and it's always going to be there, right? And so that's what the ground controller's job is to monitor all of the ground systems, making sure that we can maintain communication up to any vehicle that we're talking to, whether they're on the moon, whether they're in low Earth orbit, whether they're on Mars. If we're talking to them, we need to talk to them somehow. Ground controllers are there to support the mission. And so that really, and so what we do differs depending on the vehicle specifically. So for example, on the ISS, we ensure that we always have constant communication using a constellation of communication satellites in the sky, right? Making sure that all of these systems that are working in conjunction to make sure that the ISS is in communication with those satellites, and that those satellites are in communication with the ground station. The ground station information is getting to us at Johnson Space Center, and everything in between. So thinking about that, it's no surprise to say that the ground controller system is the largest system by far out of any discipline in mission control, because we cover systems in New Mexico, we cover systems in California, we cover systems in Alabama, we cover systems in Guam. So, and you can think about what it takes to get the data from point A to point B, and all of the processors, hardware, all that takes for that data to get there. It's a lot, but it's a lot of fun. It's really rewarding because there's always something for you to do, and you're always coordinating with people, always troubleshooting things, and always making. And honestly, like, you can't beat, just taking a break, looking up, and realizing that, oh my gosh, I'm sitting in mission control. So it's a lot. It's a lot, and I hope I've been able to kind of answer that question.
Yeah.
'Cause
No, that's really fascinating, and I think it makes sense with the trainee. How long does it take? How long do you keep that status of trainee before you?
Yeah, so and that there's different phases to it. So for example, as a
Okay.
trainee, I can't support mission control all by myself. I always have to be with someone, but I still get to do a lot of stuff. Interfacing with all the other flight controllers, interfacing with our back rooms, which are kind of like flight controller positions, except they're designed to specifically support us in the quote unquote front room, or what you know as mission control. Uh,
That's in that
and
picture right there, right?
Exactly, that's mission control in the background there. And then on the right-hand side, that's a different mission control room. There isn't just one mission control room. There are various throughout Johnson Space Center. We used to have more, but one of them has, for some reason, been designated as a historic landmark because it helped land us on the moon or something. I don't know.
It's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Um, and so it takes on average 2 years, at least for ground controllers, to finish their training. But it really depends on what flight controller position you're going for. Some positions take 8 to 10 years.
Wow. Like what?
Yeah, yeah. Like for example, robotic operations.
Mm,
So those are the people that control the arms on the ISS and stuff. Um, and I believe EVA and other positions like that, because those positions, like if you mess up, like things could be immediately catastrophic, like
mm.
unrecoverably catastrophic. So you have to be, you cannot afford to mess up. That's why it takes those positions that much longer to certify, as
Yeah.
well as a lot of other things. But I don't know enough about their positions to really talk on it.
Okay, but I have to ask this last question here from New Jersey. How
Of
many
course,
buttons are there to control? Can you even
uh,
answer that?
I honestly, I just press the buttons. I don't count them. I just press
Like
them. Let me
like
tell you,
an
it's a
order
lot.
of magnitude. Are there
I'd
5,
say,
10?
oh, it's more. It's much. It's probably around like 50 minimum, because there's a lot of different. Like, it's just,
Is that for you, like, ground
yeah,
controllers? Okay.
yeah. Because there's just a lot of different ways to make configuration changes. A lot of different way, like because there's a lot of different buttons for different things. For example, you press buttons to be able to talk to certain people. You press buttons to, make configuration changes. For our ground system, you press buttons to you press buttons to do pretty much anything, right? You
And those
press buttons to
physical
press the
buttons?
button.
That's
Mm,
funny.
yeah, exactly.
Or is it like a touch
So
screen?
so they're mostly now touchscreens, but some of
Okay.
the main interfaces we use, for example, the ones that allow me to make changes to my system, are
Mhm.
purely like mouse control.
Got it.
But we use touch interfaces to, for example, change which loop we're on, and loops are pretty much just different radio channels that we change to, like on a walkie-talkie or something, to talk to different people.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's a lot of buttons, and that's just my position. Every position has just a lot, which is
Yeah.
why it takes years for us to train.
Makes sense. Okay, so the next question from the Guardians of the Milky Way, how do we send information back and forth to space?
That is a really good question. So fundamentally, uh, so every vehicle does things differently,
Mhm.
right? Like for example, what antennas they have, what sort of communication constellation they use, etc. But the most fundamental thing that every single vehicle uses are ground stations. So if you think about, a ground station is essentially a really, 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 really big like radar dish. If you think about it, I don't know if you're too young for this, but uh, if any of y'all have something called Dish Network, you'll have this sort of antenna on your roof. So if you think about it, a ground station is just that antenna, but like 100 times larger, right? And what that does is that it beams radio frequencies, or really, it depends, but for brevity's sake, radio frequencies up in the general direction of the vehicle that you're trying to communicate to. So, for example, we interface with, as ISS, we interface with a constellation of satellites, as I said earlier, called TDRS. And so, the ISS uses a radar dish, an antenna, to talk to that satellite, and then that satellite points towards that ground station that I was talking about earlier, and delivers that communication or telemetry that way. And so that ground station is always pointed at that one specific satellite at all times. And so we have a bunch of different ground stations around the world, depending on what we're doing. And that's just for the ISS. And so it takes, and so kind of to combine that with the next question of how long does it take to send information
Yeah.
back and forth to the ground crew. So essentially, information travels at the speed of light. That's pretty much how fast we're sending information, because that's fundamentally, and you're going to learn this a lot later. It's all the same thing at the end of the day. It's electromagnet. It's electromagnetism, right? And so, for example, it'll take us like less than a second to transmit signals from the ground to the ISS, right? To the moon, it'll take us about 3 seconds, and we're training for that when we finally get back onto the moon later this decade. To Mars, it's about 20 minutes to
Hmm.
get to Mars, and then 20 minutes to get back. So it's about 40 minutes total that you have to wait from when you send out a signal to when you receive a response. And so, regardless how long it takes, all of those use the same ground station pointed at a vehicle in the sky sort of configuration. And it's very bare bones. I promise you, it's a lot more complicated than that.
No,
And
that's a really great explanation though,
thank you.
because I don't think you think about it, you're just like, "We talk to the astronauts," like,
Yeah,
how does it actually happen? And I think it's fascinating about, like, to Mars, like, 40 minutes, so you send a signal to the
yeah,
rover, and it's just like, you're just chilling, waiting for, like, a
yep,
response.
yep.
40 like, it's like
Uh,
send a text to a friend, and then you have to wait 40 minutes to get a message back.
Yeah, and then that friend has to wait 40 minutes to get him. So
Yeah.
that's why specifically for the Mars missions and stuff, there's a lot of considerations being done for their sort of communications delays, because in effect, if things go wrong, we're not going to know back on the ground for about at least 20 minutes, and then we're not going to be able to help for at least another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And so for the most part, for all intents and purposes, you're on your own. And so that really shapes mission development and mission planning and all these things. And so
Mhm.
it's just one of the many things we consider when
When you're planning.
conquering space.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna switch here to what is the most difficult problem or challenge you have done or have had in your job?
That is a really great question, and it's very timely, I'd say, because that happened this Monday.
Really?
When I was, in one of our back rooms, supporting or scheduling, quote unquote, time on those satellites that I was talking about earlier, those communication satellites I was talking about earlier. And essentially, what happened was that we recently had a launch of a Northrop Grumman vehicle that suffered a failure on the vehicle. Specifically, one of the solar panels failed to deploy completely, which meant that the vehicle itself was functioning at only 50% power.
Oh, wow.
And so that meant that the vehicle went into a bit of a state of, it did eventually go into a state of emergency, but beforehand, when I was supporting, it went into much more. We had to take a lot more consideration into focusing all of our resources and attention into that vehicle, which meant scheduling a lot more communication time for that vehicle, like doing a lot more documentation, doing a lot more coordinating, doing just frankly, they had us or they had me and a coworker just working nonstop for about 9.5 hours, just constantly, interfacing with people out in White Sands, interfacing with people out in Virginia, interfacing with people just everywhere to coordinate everything, understand what the heck is going on, what it is that we need to do, what are the changes that we need to make, who it is that we need to talk to, what do we need to tell them, and so just constantly 24/7, and we kept getting more and more and more and more and more things to do, and more and more and more and more things to update, more and more and more things to change, to ensure that the vehicle arrived at the ISS safely, bringing much needed supplies to it. And as of 2 days ago, I thankfully docked, birthed successfully to the
Nice.
ISS with one solar panel. But I will say, I in general, I really like to go to the gym and work out and everything like that. But after work, I was just I'm not going to the gym. I'm just way too exhausted,
Yeah.
and it it was that was my first real large experience like that. And obviously in the moment it was incredibly stressful, but afterwards it really reminded me what it is that we're doing here, and moreover, like
Mm.
how frankly awesome it is, because it really in a meta sense feels like a video game, except a video game that's not like you're
Real.
actually doing
Yeah.
things in real. Yeah, exactly. It's surreal. That's what it is. It's
Mhm.
surreal because every vehicle you're interfacing with costs billions of dollars, right?
Oh,
And
no
on
big
top of
deal,
that,
right?
yeah, of course not. The ISS is only worth what, $130 billion. I don't know.
Eh.
Yeah, not to mention the people on board.
Oh, yeah,
But
right.
and so that really showed me, you know, when things really start going wrong, the way we do things, how we handle them, and how we overachieve and still
Mhm.
come out the other end with a successful mission. Because it didn't just take just me to get that done, to get that vehicle to the ISS successfully. It took everyone else working just as hard, if not harder, to get the mission completed, right? And
Right.
so it felt really awesome to be coordinating it at that scale with all of my quote unquote teammates, and
Yeah. Well,
it just
congratulations for it sounds
thank
like
you,
one of the biggest challenges that you've had to go through.
thank you.
And y'all were successful, and that I guess that was your Houston, we have a problem moment.
Yep,
And you
yeah,
worked through it. How many so this next question was how many
yeah.
launches have you been a part of? Do you have that number?
I'll be honest with you, I don't even, because like we have launches all the time. I'd say probably around 10, 11, 12. It really depends because like it, like we have SpaceX launches, we have Northrop Grumman launches. We're eventually going to have Sierra Nevada launches. We're gonna be having Boeing launches. So this that number is only going to go up exponentially as the ISS gets older, and frankly, as more and more viable vehicles are developed and created, and
Mhm.
eventually, once Artemis launches
Yeah,
next week, that'll add one to my tally.
that'll be
Uh,
exciting.
I don't. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait because I'm not specifically on the Artemis team, but they said that I'll be able to help support mission control once
Oh,
launch is
cool.
over with, which
Yeah.
is like, like yes, and yeah, I'd say launches are some of the coolest things ever, and it's just so surreal.
Mhm.
It's just so surreal. I really wish I could have been there during the space shuttle because the way they describe it is just electric. Um, and obviously, we're going to go back to regular launches like that again. But yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just it's a lot, and it's awesome.
Can you tell us, this picture, what's happening here?
So that was when I was talking to Faith West Academy here in Houston. They had a lot of awesome, frankly, in questions so insightful that I really don't think middle schoolers have any business knowing physics to that level. Uh, but
I
yet they
remember
did.
you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, these kids were ravenous. Let's
Mhm.
one super high level question after the other. Relativity, particle physics, like all
Ready to
these things that,
test.
yeah, no, yeah, it was incredible. Like I was having to like dust off my old astrophysics, knowledge. Just oh my god,
We
and
kept it too easy for you here.
I mean honestly, like like I just love answering questions, and especially when people ask them so passionately and just so like with such interest and such
Mhm.
veracity, and I really got to experience that with the students there. And honestly, they showed me some incredible projects that they had worked on, and just really, I told them this during my talk there, and also told said this earlier during our conversation today. But I really wish I could have been a part of a program like this when I was their age, because legitimately, like I would have known what I wanted to be much sooner had I been able to be a part of this.
Yeah. Well, let's, switch here to some final fun stuff. So your life seems very consumed to this amazing work you do, with NASA. So do you do any hobbies, anything for fun?
Yeah, so I really enjoy. So I really enjoy reading. I also really enjoy, going out with friends, socializing and stuff. And I really enjoy, as you can see, a lot of cars and stuff. So that's on the left there is me visiting a NASCAR race back in 2015 with my dad,
Oh,
as
cool.
well as seeing me there go karting, and then me going with my aunt on the right there to an auto show. So anything that's mechanical, anything that goes fast, I'm just a huge
That
fanboy
makes
for.
sense, actually.
So actually, you know what? That does kind of make sense. And so, like as you can see there, that's me in front of. No, it's I can't remember what plane that was at the top of my head.
Yeah.
Um, it's not an F4 Phantom for sure. But it just I don't know what it is about the sensation of just the noise, the speed, just
It's
it's
like a
just
launch.
really, yeah, exactly. It is like a launch, especially when going to see a race, for example.
Mhm.
Those things are so ridiculously loud that, like, if you don't wear ear protection, you're gonna permanently damage your hearing forever. Like,
Right.
and just seeing how just like you blink and they're gone and past you and already like halfway down the corner, and so like being a part of that, or not being a part of that, but being able to like witness that and follow that is just really awesome and addicting. And there's
Mhm.
also this other game called Super Smash Brothers Melee that I really love. I really like following it. I like the professional scene especially, because that to me is another game. It's a game that's like about 21 years old now. No, it's, yeah, 21 years old now, and it's definitely like if y'all have played this out there, then I
Yeah.
applaud you, because that's a GameCube game that came out in 2001. So if you've had the opportunity to play that, then you know how great it is and how technical it can get. And so yeah, um,
I love
and
it.
also obviously space.
Okay, so we're gonna go here to this last part, which we call
Perfect.
rapid fire questions, and I feel like you're
Hit me
gonna
with
do
them.
great. Okay, so I'm gonna give you like 15 seconds. You ready?
Perfect. Let's go.
Okay, what is your favorite part of your job?
Talking to people and coordinating with them and troubleshooting together. Because I think there's nothing more satisfying than ideating a solution that eventually works and gets everyone back on track and back doing their jobs.
I love it. If you could have any other job at NASA, what would it be?
Easy, astronaut. Like honestly, like
You're like,
one of the
duh.
coolest things is yeah, you just walk around and you just run into astronauts left and right.
That is cool.
And so one day I just want to be like on the other side of that interaction.
Someday, you never know. Do you have fun at your job?
Oh my goodness gracious, all the time. Yes, like it's like I say, it is like a video game, and it's also like a puzzle that you have to like put together all the time, and knowing how to communicate the solution to that puzzle. And so it is very much if you like strategizing, if you like solving puzzles, if you like intensity, then this is a job for you.
Oh, that's cool. What is the weirdest thing you've ever seen in the sky or space?
Mm, that's a really interesting question because like we see weird things all the time, but it's like for example, sometimes an astronaut will just like drop a hammer and it'll just fly out and you just see it go in like bye bye hammer, But I think one of the funniest things is just like sometimes an astronaut will like be eating some Skittles or something and one will just fly away. And then it's just gone, and then after like a couple of minutes, or you just see it like just ever so slightly fly back. And
You're
it's
just like
just like,
watching the Skittle on the
yeah,
screen.
yeah, exactly. And it's just so funny. Oh, no, one more. There's like this floating piece of duct tape that we are just seeing there, just bouncing inside of the ice or whatever. And so we had to we called it out. We're like, hey, there's a piece of duct tape floating around out there. We had to get Capcom. Hey, yo, Capcom, tell the astronauts. And then they had to tell the astronauts, hey, there's a piece of duct tape just floating out there by itself. And so and then got to get the astronauts to come on over there, retrieve it, stow it, and just give us the thumbs up. And
Oh, that's
sometimes I'm
fun.
just doing a backflip or whatever, which is really awesome.
That is so cool. Okay, so there's Faith West Academy, shout out to them again, are planning a Space Club field trip to Johnson Space Center. When we come, can we meet you?
Yes, 100% for sure. I would be more than happy to meet you. And I would be more than happy, if possible, to be able to give y'all a tour of NASA myself.
So cool. All right, well, I'll connect you with the teacher. I think y'all have already have
Perfect.
contact, but we'll make it happen. Faith West Academy, thank you for your question, and thank you to all the students for those amazing questions. Patrick, can you stick around for a few more minutes?
Of
Because I
course.
want to show off some stuff that kids have been working on. So we have Space Club highlights. Okay, so first we have Bethlehem Christian Academy. They're on a mission to moon, and they're learning about hydroponics and doing a plants in space challenge. What do you think?
That's incredible. Oh,
So they're
oh my
growing
God.
stuff, like it might
What?
be like a bean and they're trying to grow a plant, and so they have these cotton balls or they've soaked in water, and so they're just have the water to grow, some plant. That's the challenge.
That is that's awesome. Oh my goodness gracious. And
And
I assume, are
apparently
those
the
actual
Eggo box
bananas?
it's just the name of the team is called the Bananas.
Well, that's
I don't know
bananas.
if they're growing bananas, but all right, so now we have Brookhaven School, and on the left, you're seeing these really epic roller coasters, and what this is doing is
Wow.
mimicking the vomit comet, part of astronaut training, right? And so they're learning
Yeah,
about changes in acceleration, so this is about astronaut training, and then they also have these really cute, mission patches because 'cause they're, getting to know each other, and so they had to
that's
build a
incredible.
patch.
Those mission patches look very similar to the ones we have hanging up there in Mission Control. That's pretty awesome, actually. Wow. That's incredible.
And here we have Faith West Academy. They are doing Live from Mars, where they have to pretend that they're on Mars and they're reporting what's going on there. And then they have to design a wearable device, which is using circuits. And they have to, it's like a lighted device to communicate back to their base, like, hey, I need help or whatever's going on. So that's Faith West on this side. And this one is a landing device. So they had to build this device to keep their astronauts safe when landing on Mars.
Oh my gosh. Well, first on the left, I'm at a loss for words. That's awesome.
It's a
That
cool
sounds like
helmet over here.
so much fun. Yeah, that's incredible. Oh my goodness gracious. I like props to you and props to the teachers for being so, like passionate about this and being so creative. Like that's incredible. Like wow. And then on
And
the right there,
I love
like that's like I promise you, at their age, my egg probably would not have survived the fall.
it.
But like I can see there, those are three probable
So they're
like
actually not
successes.
using eggs, they have ping pong
Uh,
balls, and so they bounce out is the problem, and so they have to
oh,
absorb the shock to keep the ping pong balls. So we didn't want it too messy.
okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, as
So
an
they've got
addendum or
some
a
nice,
change,
yeah. So
that's awesome.
all
Wow.
right, and I think we had a video here. So this is May Lester Stevens Junior High, and I love this video because we get to see the roller coasters in action played again.
They must have had so much fun building that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I can tell. And I love the use of the water bottles. That's really creative because a lot of the
I
teams are
definitely
using
agree.
just like recycled materials, so they have to get creative.
Wow, that is a lot more reflective of how we do things at NASA too, because it's like whenever we have issues or we have to troubleshoot something on the ISS or wherever it is that we are, we can only use the materials at hand. So
Mm. Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome. Oh, that's great.
yeah,
And then, these are just really cute photos of the teams. We can't show their faces, so you just have to
yeah.
imagine smiling kids, at Marlton Elementary School, meet their, crew mission on Mars. So,
Howdy.
for all those kids that were on those pictures and submitted those designs, as I promised in the beginning, we're gonna do a raffle, and so, Patrick, you're here, so I had to give away some swag. So they're gonna have a whole pack of stickers of, like, these really fun designs of NASA's logo, and then every student on the team will get a NASA hat, official NASA swag. So the way we do it is I'm going to switch here to our picker wheel. Are you ready, Patrick, for me to spin the wheel?
I'm very ready.
Let's do it.
The intensity reminds me of last Monday.
Right. Oh, oh. Brookhaven, congratulations, guys. Your team is going to win the NASA mission patches and those hats. I will be in touch with your teacher. So that's it. That's
Congratulations.
our career chat. Okay, so Patrick, I have to give you the last word here. Any final thoughts and words for our students watching?
Yeah, of course. So I'm considering that you're a part of the space club. I'm sure you understand that achieving anything in space is never going to be easy, and it's honestly only probably going to get harder as we push the envelope more and more. And so, one thing that I want to leave with you is the fact that if you want to really contribute to space, you're going to have to give it your all. You're going to have to never give up, and frankly, you're going to have to acknowledge the fact that there are going to be challenges in your way. But at the end of the day, all you have to do to remind yourself of your final goal and the final objective is just go outside at night and look up at the night sky, and then I'll go back inside and keep grinding. And eventually, I hope to see you there in mission control by my side as we land the next group of people on the moon and later Mars.
I love it. Well, thank you, Patrick, for joining us. I love your passion, your energy, your enthusiasm for all things space. And, great job out there, fighting all these different challenges. And I love kind of hearing these stories and what it's like to be on mission control because we kind of see it on TV, you go on the tours, but it's cool to kind of have that inside look. So I hope to bring you back. But thank you again for being here.
I hope to be back. Thank you so much for having me. I've had a blast today and hope to see you again someday.
All right. Bye bye, everyone.